Hello everyone. Welcome to the stream, people. Minton is here. I'm not just bringing Minton on for no reason at all. There is a reason. The little man is here. The king is here indeed. The king is well and truly here. How are we doing, everyone? Welcome. Good to see you all. You tired, mate? Hey? Right, I'll put you down. You can curl up in your little corner. He's got good little sunspot down there. He loves laying in the sun. Yes, the reason, as some of you have mentioned, I didn't actually watch the race yesterday. Well, I'll explain exactly what happened. But we had to take Minton to the vets. He has been a bit poorly the last few days. Bit of a dodgy tummy. But he seems okay now. He's definitely better today. But yeah, we had to take him down because it was a bit concerning. We were a bit nervous. We were a bit worried. You know, classic dog parents. But yeah, he's okay. He's okay. So he's honestly he seems right as rain now. But yeah, we took him at like 11, and then obviously the race started at 12:10 UK time. So I missed the start. But, of course, more important things in life. And thank you, Derek, for the $2 mate. Shuey, love from Oz, mate. We'll get on to Danny Rick. Another Shuey. What an absolute hero that man is. But, yeah, so I got back and I switched on the race. Because I wanted to obviously catch the end of it. And it was on the last lap of the safety car, the final safety car of the race. And we all know what happened about 45 seconds after the last lap of that safety car coming in. We all know what happened. We'll talk about it in a bit. So I cannot believe that as soon as I switched on, it happened. Yes, everyone in the comments. No, I just can't believe it. I turn on, and Alex is sitting P5, and I'm like, okay, it's okay. Not podium, but still, not bad. I just can't anymore. Anyway, it's all my fault, basically. Yeah. Blame it on me. It's fine. All right, let's jump into the results. So. Oh my God! These results are wrong. What have I done? Right. Hang on. I've done the graphic. I don't know why the graphic's not on there. This is the. I set this up all night last night. Right. Hang on. Give me a second, everyone. Consummate professional as ever. Streaming, artwork, place ratio. Boom. There we go. Right. And I've gone really dark. The light has been an absolute pain in the backside today. There we go. Lovely. Imola Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton wins from Bottas, Ricciardo, Kvyat, Leclerc, Perez, Sainz, Norris, Raikkonen, Giovinazzi. My driver of the day, I've gone with Daniel Kvyat. And again, this is from watching the highlights, obviously taking in the conversation online about what happened. And I've had to put Alex as L of the day. There was some other, Russell's mistake, as much as, it was a big mistake. Completely put him out of the race. Obviously, Alex's mistake didn't crash the car, but it still put him out of the point, so it might as well put him out of the race. And just considering, everything that's been going on, the pressure on him at the moment, the fact that he really needed a strong performance. It's been 3 races on the bounce that have been absolute howlers for Alex. And he really did not need that. If he'd just brought it home in P5, I think, that's okay. You can build from that. But yeah, Ella the day, someone said, nah, it's not. It's not Verstappen because Verstappen was unlucky. You know, in terms of best performance, my best performance and my worst performance of the day. But yeah, we'll get onto the details as we go through. So yeah, it's a this light, honestly. It's like the sun's behind the clouds, and then it's not. So I'm just having to change the ISO constantly. Ericsson hit us. Well, Russell had an Ericsson hit us moment, but also Alex said on the radio that he didn't think he got hit. Well, no, he thought he got hit. Sorry, he thought he got hit. But yeah. Oh God, the pain right now. Oh, thank you, Ollie, for the £2, mate. Where's the 88 poster you got from? Big fan, mate. Appreciate that, Ollie. It is from a website called Automobilist. So auto AUTO and then mobilist MOBILIST. I think it was purchased for me as a gift when I left my last job. So yeah, crack on if you want. Anyway, shall we have a chat about the race? Shall we go through point to point? First of all, again, I can't really rate the race because I've only seen the highlights. Which, to be fair, obviously making this list, I'm only gonna be talking about the highlights of the race. Apparently, there were some dull bits, so I feel like people, obviously it's Imola, so we're giving it. Imola looks banging, and the drivers loved it. It was a very interesting track. Like, we haven't seen it on the F1 calendar for too long, and I thought it looked amazing. The drive. Oh my God, this light is doing my head in. See, if I put auto ISO on my camera, it's just dark. I'm just going to leave it on auto and hope that it sorts it out. There we go. That'll do. Right, come on. Let's go through it. At the start, I mean, Valtteri, and when I say perfect start for Bottas, I mean perfect weekend. You know, qualified P1. Honestly, like one lap pace. Valtteri is, I think, very close to Lewis. 1 lap pace, 100%. Lewis's advantage is that Lewis has got the better racecraft and he's got the better tyre management, which is huge in Formula One. He had a great start to the race as well. He appeared to be very. I haven't found where he got that debris in his car. We'll talk about the debris. Actually, am I going to talk about the debris? Let's talk about the debris now, actually, because I prepared. Let me jump up a little screen share. If I jump on this, boom. That's the bit of debris that was pulled out of Valtteri's car after the race. It looks like a bit of Ferrari. That's not no, it's a bit of, I don't know what bit of Ferrari that is. I'm not sure. I don't know when the Ferrari lost that bit because again I didn't see the race. But all I know is that Valtteri was very much inhibited. So for him to bring it home in P2, all things considered, the fact that he's got driving around with that on his car and it took away loads of downforce and that, you know, side pod, fair enough. 20 plus notifications. Brilliant. So yeah, it was a shame for Valtteri because he also got very unlucky. Well, Lewis got lucky, but again, we'll talk about that in a minute. With the safety car, it's just when it's going Lewis's way, it just goes Lewis's way. Not only is he performing at the top of his ceiling, he's in the form of his life at the minute, but also sometimes these things just do go your way. And yeah, it was a shame for Valtteri because, you know, he had the moustache. He was channeling the Nigel Mansell vibes, of course, for Movember, great men's health charity. So good for him. He looks, I think he looks incredible with the moustache. He looks like a completely different person, Valtteri. Let's find a picture of Valtteri with the moustache. Valtteri Moustache. There we go. Twitter, help me out. Come on. Where's a good picture of Valtteri? Oh, I mean, apps. Come on, people, have a look at this. Look at that. Gee, look at that. He's Magnum PI right there. Look at that. He looks way like that. I really like this Mercedes jacket as well, by the way. It's decent. Yes, he does look a bit like Keke Rosberg. I think it's decent, you know. I think it's decent. But yeah, sad for Valtteri. I don't think he did much wrong in that race. Obviously, you know, he did make a mistake that let Max get past. Again, we'll talk about that in a minute. But considering how inhibited his car was from the very start, you know, I ain't going to be too critical of Valtteri. So we'll talk about the site. It was actually pretty clean, which I'm surprised about because Imola's quite a narrow track relative to some of the tracks we see on the calendar. And it was pretty clean. The only incident really in the first lap was Vettel and Chinwag coming together. I don't really know like whose fault it was. I've only really seen one view. I couldn't really tell, which is a shame for Chinwag because I think he's had the most DNFs of anyone this year. He just can't catch a break. It is a shame, but listen, he's losing his seat, as is Roman. Haas, it looks pretty much set on that it's going to be Schumacher and Mazepin in those Haas seats going for the money, which, listen, that's just the way it is, unfortunately. It's just the name of the game, innit? These things happen, and it seems like Haas, they need to kind of, I'd rather them be in the sport with paid drivers than pull out the sport completely, you know what I mean? Because we need teams, especially with Honda pulling out as well. It's concerning times for the sport. So as long as Haas are still interested and staying in the sport, you know, that's what I want to see going forward. But anyway, Gasly, Pierre Gasly. What a weekend that lad had up until however many laps it was in when he was pulled into the pits with a terminal failure of the car. This, like 100%. Also, Sean, I've just seen your message. Super license points have been rejigged this year, so I'm pretty sure Mazepin and Tsunoda will have enough to be at least considered for F1 seats. But anyway, what was I saying? Gasly. P4 in qualifying in an AlphaTauri, which again, if you ask me, 6th or 7th, if not 7th quickest car on the grid over the course of the season. Of course, there's certain tracks it's going to excel in, like the Renault excels in certain tracks and all, but all when you consider the whole package, and Gasly's just been to be fair, here, Imola, both the AlphaTauris performed well. So this was obviously a track that did suit the AlphaTauri setup well because both him and Kvyat got into Q3, which I was very impressed with Kvyat as well. He's only 0.2 behind Gasly. The margins are just so tight amongst that midfield. So tight. And obviously Kvyat managed to convert in the race. And Gasly could have had another podium. He really could have. It's just a shame. Real shame. But again, Gasly's proving that his time at Red Bull was not representative of his potential. You know, you look at Gasly last year in Red Bull, and at the time, he was one of the worst performing drivers in the field. But you take him out of that situation, put him in a situation where the environment around him is much more to his liking, and he's got more confidence, and he's proving that he's got the ability to fight at the very top, you know, fight at the steep end. I think Pierre's been driver of the year this year. Again, there's a lot of people who could be up for that title. Danny Rick, podium today again as well. I just think that the machinery that Pierre has and the performances he's been getting out of it, and the fact that he's come through such a period of his career that would destroy so many young drivers, and obviously we'll talk about Alex shortly. It's mad impressive, and he was so unfortunate. Again, no fault of his own, just had to pull it in. Could have easily been a podium. Would have definitely been a top 5 if you ask me. Oh, did I spell heartbreak wrong? Brilliant. God, you lot love to correct me in the comments. Heartbreak, he typed it wrong. This is what I've learnt about the internet. You can't afford to get anything wrong, otherwise you jumped on. Anyway. Oh, actually, Flippo Hippo, you make a good point. Seb called that cat fat. I haven't actually put it on the list, but we'll talk about Sebastian, because apparently he was having a really good race. And then Ferrari messed up his pit stop, and he called that Imola cat fat. Which, you know, Seb said he doesn't like cats, which I was like, come on, Seb. Like, I like you, Seb, but cats are great as well. Like, of course, I have a dog who's currently eating a treat next to me on the floor. Hello, mate. You enjoying that? But yeah, I shouldn't have called the cat fat, Seb. That's what did it. That's what sealed your fate, son. I'm afraid. Sorry. But anyway, a bit more of a positive weekend for Sebastian, which is good to see, but still, obviously, you know, not at the heights that we expect of him. And, you know, it is a shame. But fingers crossed next year he can recover. But anyway, Lewis loves Esteban, of course, because Esteban pulling over, his car braking. Or is there a conspiracy? Ocon being Toto Wolf. Maybe Toto got on the old blower and was like, just park it, Esteban. I'm joking. Obviously that didn't happen. That's a ludicrous claim to make. But yeah, obviously that helped out Lewis, because then he got the VSC, which gave him a shortened pit stop. I think it saves about 9 seconds? Something like that. But, which obviously played into Lewis's hands perfectly. It would have been difficult for Valtteri to convert that to a win anyway, with the massive bit of Ferrari that was wedged into his car. But at the same time, you know, having that luck go in Lewis's favour was always gonna... It's just a shame. I'm gutted for Valtteri. But obviously as well, Lewis is just... He can't help what cards... He's dealt a hand and he plays them, you know, better than anyone. Pretty much all of the time. So, there you go. But anyway, Supermax, yeah, obviously Valtteri understeered, didn't he, going into the final corner? Well, kind of second final corner. Hit a bit of gravel. Max got right up his chuff. And Valtteri couldn't really put up much of a defence. Again, you know, his car's inhibited. So I think that needs to be taken into account. But he did make a mistake. And Max capitalised. Unfortunately for Max, shortly after, tyre go boom. Still don't know. Has there been any clarification on why that happened? Maybe, was it just a slow puncture from shrapnel, that the same kind of like bits that Valtteri picked up from the Ferrari? Or was it, because I know Stroll lost a bit of his wing, didn't he? Front wing debris. Yeah, because obviously it was a long way into the race that it happened. So it must have been like a slow puncture that just went, you know, if it was debris that it picked up really early doors. But yeah, everyone's saying, yeah. So a slow puncture can gradually. It's like you get it at the start and then it gradually kind of tears in, and then eventually it goes bang. So when I say slow puncture, I mean like it gradually cuts in and then eventually it just goes boom. But yeah, Max was doing a solid job, you know. Again, he would have comfortably been P2. Could have challenged potentially. When you think how it was mad, the gap in qualifying between Verstappen and Hamilton in P2 was bigger than the gap between Verstappen and Gasly in P4. So the pace of those Mercedes is, even though they've said the Mercedes, they've just stopped developing it. Like, they stopped developing it ages ago. I hope Red Bull have done the same, because then they can mount a bit more of a challenge next year. And we'll talk about the drivers that should be there, if you ask me, to make that title challenge. But yeah, shame for Max, real shame. You can tell I'm hurting about Alex, can't you? Anyway, Georgie boy, George, Gorgeous George. These things happen, and I think people were giving him, oh, cheers, Freddie. See you, mate. Thank you for watching the stream, pal. My mod. Yeah. You could tell like he was absolutely pushing, clearly. Obviously it looks pretty embarrassing, but you know, he's got to take this on the chin, move on. He sounds like he's got the fortitude. It's a shame because Imola, he said it himself, this was his best chance at points, and he was running in P10, and that was before Alex's spin. So again, he could have got up to P9. Obviously, anything could have happened if that hadn't have occurred. You just don't know. But yeah. What do you say? You know, like we gave Grosjean a lot of stick when he did this a similar kind of thing, but at the end of the day, like, these things happen. Like, Alex dropped it on his own as well. Could have easily gone into the wall, you know. George has 100% got, like, people. I've seen people saying like, oh, maybe George is just a bottler. Like, come on, that Williams was an absolute piece of shit last year. Like, and this year is not much better, you know. It's not at the level of the cars around it, yet he's able to consistently. He's clearly got the pace. He's got great racecraft. It's just, you know, these are the mistakes you make early on in your career. You had Lewis and Roman both message him on Instagram, I think it was, wasn't it? And just like, look, these things happen, you know. You make mistakes. Like, how you recover from it is way more important than it kind of happening in the first place, you know. And look, he's got a secure seat. He can afford to. He'll learn from this, you know. If you never make mistakes, you never learn. You got to make mistakes to grow and that. And I think people are giving George more benefit of the doubt than they did with like Grosjean, because George is much earlier on in his career. He's clearly got the ability to be. It's just, you know, it's going to be a learning experience for him. He'll recover fine. Also, a lot of people, I haven't put it on the side, but a lot of people talking about Stroll. Yeah, Stroll had a shocker, didn't he? He's had like Alex, he's had a really poor last couple of races. Since he had that blowout at Mugello, which again, he was running in P4. He was like P4 in the championship at the time. Yeah, he's just had a shocker. But he had a really strong start, and it's all of a sudden this momentum that he had is just gone, which is a bit concerning. Oh yeah, and he punted the the Jack man, didn't he? Because his brakes were a bit cold. Apparently, he did body that engineer. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I mean, the engineer was fine, so you know. But yeah, his pace was poor. To be fair though, Perez was also in P11, so I think that racing point is catered towards race pace, and no one's trying to claim that Stroll's quicker than Perez here. But yeah, we'll see. It was a great little like backflip from the. I feel like they kind of like he finessed that. You know what I mean? Made it look a bit more intriguing and dramatic. Anyway, right. All right, let's talk about Alex. Come on, let's get it out of the way. Okay, let's just get it done. So again, I get in. I get now. Got my phone. Get now TV up on my phone. I watch it. Oh! There's a safety car, and we're just coming around the third to last corner. Oh, Alex P5. Oh, sick. Okay. I mean, not sick, but all right, not bad. Oh, maybe. And I see. Oh, he's on hard tires though, and there's a lot of softs around it. Again, I had zero idea of context. I don't know why Alex has got hards on and everyone else has got softs, but by the look of it, and a few other people have got hards, whatever. I'm just okay, cool. I was like, it's probably going to be a bit of a difficult restart for him, you know, because he's on hard tires. But And then, you see the camera pan around, and then you see Lewis come through, Valtteri come through, Daniel Ricciardo come through, whoever was in P4 at the time. And then there's a big gap, and then there's Alex, and then there's just a sea of cars right behind him. And I'm like, for crying out loud, Alex, you've had a terrible restart here, mate. And I know he's on hard tyres as well, so I'm just like, okay, it's fine. And then he gets passed by Charles, and I'm like, okay, it's fine. It's P6, still P6. Still P6. And Perez, who might be taking the seat next year. Lovely little move from Sergio. Very good little move. Capitalise on the fact that just Alex didn't have the... Because I think looking after Perez, that was what messed him up, didn't he? Because he could have stayed out, but they pitted on softs and hoping that he could cut through, but he didn't have the pace in the end. But he went past Albon. I'm like, okay. And then it cuts away, and it cuts back, and then there's a Red Bull that spun, and I'm just like, well, that's definitely not Max, because I know he's out the race. I'm like, please tell me someone's punted Alex, please. Just please tell me it's not his fault. And he's just spun on his own. That happened within 45 seconds of me switching on. I can't. Red Bull said that he had last race and this race to prove that he could make the seat his. We still have got, 4 more races this year? I can't remember off the top of my head. Something like that. And I think he's had a shocking last 3 races. His last 3 races, I think, have been the worst 3 races he's had in his career. Like, they've got to be up there. Thank you to the race for confirming. And I can't, listen, we know what happened with Pierre, okay? We know that car can be an absolute nightmare to drive. And we know that when the ship is sinking, to recover that and turn it around must be, Pierre couldn't do it. Alex isn't doing it. I see no sign that he's going to turn this around. And you can excuse all you like, but ultimately, it's just not working out. And again, obviously, I keep saying this. I hope that, next race he'll turn it around. But I've said that 3 weeks in a row now. I feel for the lad, because the scrutiny he's under is unlike any... It's probably because I'm more I'm on Twitter a lot more now than I was when Gasly was going through that. I wasn't really on Twitter tweeting about F1 much. I was following it, but I wasn't really involved. But I feel like the scrutiny he's under is immense, huge, insane, and that must be having an impact on him. It must be. There's no way anyone's that mentally strong to be able to deal with all of the scrutiny he's under. And again, I understand that people say, he's not good enough for the sport, blah. And if you just look in isolation at his last 3 performances, I could see why people would say that. But ultimately, Alex definitely, I've got no doubt that he's got it in him. He's got that pace in him. He's got that ability in him. He did really well in Toro Rosso last year. He did really well at the end of last year in Red Bull as well. That's the thing. His confidence from having a strong time at Toro Rosso. Yes, Kvyat scored more points. This is his rookie season, and he wasn't far behind Kvyat at all. And he'd had, if anything, he'd had more. For example, when he binned it at China, and then recovered from P20 to P10. That's an impressive performance, for a rookie. I think he's got it in him, but I can't sit here and say I think he should be in that seat next year, because I don't think I don't think that's a good move for Alex. I don't think that's a good move for Red Bull. When there's drivers like Nico Hülkenberg and Sergio Perez without seats, I think it's, to be honest, I think it's a bit of a no-brainer to go with one of them two and then put Alex in the AlphaTauri. Obviously, my concern is that now, you know, from Franz Tost and from Helmut Marko, there's been noises about Tsunoda getting that AlphaTauri seat because of Honda. He's a young Red Bull driver who's performing well. I love Yuki Tsunoda. He's my favourite F2 driver. He could be out of a seat completely, which obviously I'd be absolutely gutted by. And I think like Pierre got that second chance to prove himself, and it's come up amazingly well. You know, Red Bull was saying that, you know, and again, you say you don't believe everything Red Bull say, but they're like Christian's saying that, you know, he believes that Pierre would be struggling equally. You know, you could say he would say that. Maybe he would. Maybe that's a load of nonsense. Maybe it's not. Oh, Will. Hello, mate. You've joined Friends of Tomo. Cheers, buddy. Appreciate that, mate. Love you, Will. Love Will Brazer. Got a great Twitch channel. You should check it out. So yeah, I think it's going to be either Perez or Hülkenberg next year. I think Hülkenberg's probably as much as I think Perez is the quicker driver, I think Hülkenberg will be a better fit as a second driver at Red Bull because that's clearly what they want. He gets along well with Max. He's still got pace, and I still think with his, I mean, obviously, if Hülkenberg goes there or Perez goes there, and then they end up struggling, that will be that would be incredibly embarrassing for Red Bull. I mean, this whole situation is quite embarrassing for Red Bull regardless. But, yeah. Sad times. Anyway, I've talked about that for too long. Kvyat deserves credit. I said in qualifying, if you watch my qualifying stream, I put Kvyat as the one to watch for qualifying. To be fair, I didn't specify for the race, but I said for qualifying he'd do well. And P8 in an AlphaTauri, he's very rarely into Q3, Kvyat. Gasly's usually got the measure of him, and he had the measure of him. Only by 0.2, so fine margins, but as performances go, Kvyat had a great race. He didn't really put a foot wrong as far as I can see, you know. Didn't put a foot wrong. Great quali, up to P4. Kind of breathing down Ricciardo's neck towards the end. Maybe if he had a couple more seats, a couple more seats, what I'm talking about. It's because someone wrote seat in the chat. But also, and let's be honest here, Pierre has dominated Kvyat this year in terms of performances in race and in quali. It's not even been that close. Yes, he's had one good race, but it hasn't been enough. And as much as I think I rate Kvyat, like I credit Kvyat, I still don't think he's going to be in F1 next year. I still think, again, either Alex dropping down to replace him or Tsunoda taking his place. One good race isn't enough. So's Daniel, but great race yesterday. Best driver. He should have won driver of the day, if you ask me. Yes, I know Raikkonen won it, and we'll talk about them too in a minute, the Alphas. But yeah, that's what I think anyway. Right, on to Danny Rick. 2 podiums in 3 weeks. 2 podiums in 3 weeks. He's so good. McLaren must be absolutely gassed that they're getting him next year, because Daniel Ricciardo is a quality driver. I still consider him... I think him, Charles, Max and Lewis are the 4 best drivers in Formula 1. I think just he's getting everything out of that Renault package. Where you look where Ocon is. Yes, obviously Ocon retired through no fault of his own, but the quali gaps between Ocon, like we talk about the quali gaps between Albon and Verstappen all the time. The quali gaps between Ricciardo and Ocon have been huge. And that seems to be in a car that's way more planted and more predictable. I don't know, maybe it's not, but more so than the Red Bull. I think that's pretty, pretty, what's the word? That's the kind of, like, the Red Bull is twitchy. We all know it is, okay? We all know it is. But yeah, credit to Daniel. Did a shoey this time, didn't forget. Lewis did one as well from his other shoe. Bit grim, but I'm sure Lewis has drunk worse. Some dodgy club in Monaco, I'm sure, at some point. But yeah, credit to Daniel Ricciardo. He's having an absolute banger of a season. I love Danny Rick. He's my, if Alex is to lose his seat in F1 entirely, obviously I will continue to support Alex wherever he goes because I support him. I love the kid. I want him to do well wherever he goes. But Daniel Ricciardo will take the mantle as my favourite Formula 1 driver because I just love him. He's just such a nice bloke. Alfa Romeo. Giovinazzi, P20 to P10. Raikkonen, P18 to P9. Obviously, getting into the points, they benefited from Max's failure and Alex spinning and Ocon being out and Gasly, obviously. But ultimately, Giovinazzi's starts are ridiculous. F1 tweeted before the race 5 of Antonio Giovinazzi's best starts, where he's gone from right at the back to recovered about 5 positions in the first lap. And he did it again. Giovinazzi's just unreal off the start. He's got that part of his race. If you could assemble the perfect F1 driver, in terms of starts, I feel like Giovinazzi, I'd pick him for starts. I'd pick Giovinazzi for starts. That's a great video idea. Well done, Tomo. I'm gonna write that down. That's a great video idea. I love that. I'm going to do that. I might do that this week, actually. Yeah, actually, I don't have a video idea for this week, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to assemble my perfect, create my perfect Formula 1 driver based on all the different facets. Is that the right word? I think so. Do that. But yeah, well, look, listen, there's 1,700 of you on there, so if someone else does this video idea before I do, then you know that they've stolen it. And I've got 1,700 of you to back me up, all right? Cool. Yeah, Giovinazzi doesn't, his qualifying was shocking. I don't think he has the ultimate pace, but I think that part of his driving is amazing. Raikkonen did a great job as well, Mr. Consistent. They're both in that team next year. Consistency into the new regulations. I get it, I understand. I'm still kind of surprised that Ilott or Schwartzman weren't considered. But yeah. Danny Rick for late braking. Kimi for the mid-race. Yeah, I like that. That's a good video idea. I'm going to do that. And then on to the last point, and we'll drag up. Got an article set up here. Will Lewis actually retire? Let's jump onto the old WTF1 article on this. And let's just go down to the quote. So, in talking about Toto, Lewis said, I don't even know if I'm going to be here next year, so it's not a concern for me at the moment regarding a replacement for his boss, Toto Wolff. I don't even know if I'm going to be here next year. That's the kind of thing that people are jumping on. And obviously neither of them have got contracts signed for next year yet. Again, he's talking about where Toto's talked about family life through COVID and how that's, how that's made him kind of reevaluate and reassess his priorities in life, which is a very real thing, Could he retire at the end of the year? See, I don't even know if I'm going to be here next year. What do we think? I don't know. I don't know, people. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I feel like no, because, you know, Lewis will match Michael's record. Lewis will probably win another title next year. And then he'll have 8. I think once he's got 8, then he'll probably retire. But I've also said I do think he'll be interested in trying out the new regs. And I reckon he'll stick around till the new regulations are here. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. I think 8 titles and retire so that he's top of the pile. If I was in his shoes, I'd just be like, yeah, just get to absolute undisputed on paper numbers, numero uno. I think that makes more sense. Obviously, him saying that as added, like, why would he say that? Maybe that's just again, he doesn't want to speak on behalf of Toto, so he's just coming up with something to say off the cuff, and he's just said, I don't even know. Maybe that's I don't know. I really hope he doesn't retire. Like, as soon as I saw people like talking about like this come out, and they were talking about, and I was like, oh man, like I'll be gutted if he actually, like, we know it's coming, but he's just such a beast. He's such a, like, we won't appreciate him truly till he's gone, you know, till he's retired, till we look back on these. I know it's a bit, you know, it's boring, blah blah blah, but it's not Lewis's fault that, and it's not Mercedes' fault that no other team can keep up. You know, they're operating within the rules and they're doing their thing, and you can't blame Lewis, you can't blame Mercedes for that. You got to blame the other teams for not, you know, keeping them honest, you know. But I reckon at 8 he'll retire. I still think that, but yeah, exactly, Arthur. I think he needs to get into the hundreds for race wins as well, because he's what, at 93 now, 93. So he's 7 wins away off of 3 figures. I think 8 titles, 3-figure winner. All of the other records are his, like most poles, all that stuff. Just get all that. Get one more year, Lewis. At least one more year. Maybe try the new regulations as well. That's what I mean, you know. I think give that a go. But yeah, there we have it, people. Let's jump back to the results. That's my little waffle. Chinwag. What do we think of the race, people? I'll have a look in the comments and reply to a few. Any talking points? Oh, thank you, Alexei, for joining Friends of Tomo. Appreciate it. Because what I think could happen is Lewis will retire and then Russell will replace Lewis. And then you'll have Russell Bottas. Could be a thing. Will Ricciardo hold to 4th? Yes, I believe he will. I think Daniel will hold on to 4th. Ryan, Tomo, you're right. You look down, Rick. Do I? I'm a bit tired. I'm not feeling like top vibes. You know what I mean? Like all this new lockdown nonsense. It's a bit draining, you know. So I'm not feeling on top of the world. I'll be honest, but I'm not feeling down either. I'm just like just kind of in the middle, you know. What were we saying? Russell Gasly to Merck. Thoughts from Tammy James? I think could in the future maybe. Again, Valtteri is still very solid at Mercedes. I don't see him leaving unless it's with Russell coming in the other way. Otherwise, I see Bottas staying because he's got a good relationship with that team. He is very quick over one lap. He's a solid driver, but yeah. Also, yeah, the constructors is mad close at the minute, isn't it? Renault, McLaren and Racing Point are all split by like 2 points, literally. 2 of them on exactly the same as well. We'll praise you with the Bottas to Renault. Love that. I forgot about that emoji. Oh. Would I want to see Imola next year? Yeah, definitely. Imola would be sick. Great track. Great track. It's a proper driver's track, you know. I want a calendar that's got some variety to it, you know. You've got your Monacos, you've got your Bahrains, you've got your Azerbaijans, you've got your Spas, and you've got your Imolas, you know. They're all different. They're all distinct. I don't want too many tracks that are the same, you know. Because then also, by that, then you naturally have cars that will perform better at certain tracks than others. So then that, again, adds to the unpredictability and mixes things up a bit. Talk about Seb. What should I say about Seb? Seb is having as bad a year as Alex is this year. I think that's just true. But we give Seb more benefit of the doubt because he is a 4-time world champion and he's really proven that he does have that pace in him. But like, if you just look at those two drivers' performances this year, like in isolation, just this year, they've both been as like. Seb's been no better than Alex. Alex has been no better than Seb. They're both massively underperformed relative to their teammates, and they've both made a lot of mistakes. But again, just like Pierre was able to recover from having a really bad time, I'm confident that Seb will, you know, be not necessarily a new man, but he will be able to perform much closer to his previous best at Aston Martin. That car seems a lot more planted rear end, you know. But I still think Charles and Max and Danny, Rick and Lewis are on a different level, if you ask me. What do I think about Bahrain now? I'm really looking forward to Bahrain now. It's kind of like an oval. It's just different, isn't it? It's just something different. I don't know how will the race just be DRS overtakes left, right, and centre? Maybe, but I mean, that could be fun. I'm not really sure. We'll see. Different gravy, exactly, Zaylee. Exactly. Did we speak about Alex? Yes, I spoke about Alex in length. Gasly, yeah, I mean, I'm happy for Gasly. I'm glad that Gasly's kind of kept his seat at AlphaTauri. I think that's the best place for him to be. Consolidate his position at AlphaTauri. You know, going into the new regulations as well, that should tighten everything up, and he'll be able to really show what he's worth. You know, what he's capable of, and then I think he'll get a top seat eventually if he keeps on his job. You know, I still haven't seen the Seb pit stop. There's no like video of it on the F1 channel. I'm sure someone's posted it somewhere, I guess, but yeah, I'm not sure. But I'm looking forward to Turkey as well. Turkey in 2 weeks should be interesting. Should be fun. But yeah. Anyway, right. I've got some work to do, people. So thank you all for tuning in. All 1,400 of you still here listening to me waffle about nonsense. Thank you all for the support. Yes, I'm going to do that video. I'm going to put it out later this week, probably on Thursday, and then I want to do a podcast. I need to get a guest. I've got a few in mind. This is my work now. Unfortunately, I still work. I still have a job. So this is not all I do. But yeah. Anyway, thank you everyone for tuning in. Appreciate you all taking the time. Be kind to one another. Be happy, be friendly. Hope we're all doing well as well with this nonsense that with the world we're living in at the minute. I know it's difficult, but yeah. Ciao everyone. Grazie ragazzi. Molto bene. Ciao adios, I'm done.